6.1 on the agenda this evening. Councillor Race.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm all for saving money too, and $100,000 is a lot of money, but my big thing here was the social aspect. People have to get out of their house, they go to the recycling area, and they interact with other people. And we're beginning to live in a society where you don't even have to leave the house to see the doctor. You don't have to leave the house to get your groceries. So I think it's so important to have that social aspect, and by not forcing people to go to the landfill, we continue that social aspect. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Race. We'll move on to item 6.2 on the agenda this evening, nuisance bylaw amendment, Gerard Redmond Courts. This is going to Ms. Hope.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Lovely to see everyone. So this report's before you. I recommend the actions that Council gives the reading to nuisance bylaw 1185, and I'm here if you have any questions on the report or the bylaw.
Thank you, Ms. Hope. Council. Councillor Magoon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. I realize that it's very contextual, so I'd rather ask the person who had the conversation. The phrase that's quoted in the report that will make it work, there's a lot of different make it works. I can ask my wife something, she says, I'll make it work. Then I can ask my wife something that says, I'll make it work. Those are two different answers. So I guess from the school's perspective, is this livable, or would they rather see the hours changed to say 8:30 in the morning to facilitate teaching?
Ms. Hope.
It was the second one.
Ah.
So they would rather see it to 8:30.
Sorry, may I?
Go ahead.
As a point of legislative clarification, then, if it was the will of council, we could just form an amendment right now. Perfect. So, Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Go right ahead.
I'd like to amend the nuisance bylaw, the draft nuisance bylaw to reflect court hours of 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. (8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m.) If I could just speak to that, Mr. Mayor.
You go right ahead. What's being typed out here?
Awesome, thank you. Just really in short, I get it. I understand that half-hour difference between, say, a gym class that's slated to start at 8:30 every morning, losing that time from a teaching perspective, I understand. And I don't think that's gonna throw off the individuals in our community who have been advocating for stronger nuisance bylaws in that area. I don't think that half-hour difference is gonna make or break. I think it's a reasonable understanding, because at 8:30, kids are in the schoolyard anyway, making noise. So I think we'll be okay. It's myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Magoon. And Secretary, the motion as written should read that the council amend the nuisance bylaw number 11585 TAC 1 to reflect court hours of 8:30 to 9 p.m. So it should be court hours of 8:30 to 9 p.m. And Councillor Magoon, if you're okay with it, I would like to add to the end at the Gerard Redmond Courts, because this bylaw is larger than specifically Gerard Redmond. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary. And there is two ofs in there. So the council amend bylaw number 1185, tab 1, to reflect the court, and you can delete that of, hours of 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Gerard Redmond courts. Okay, Councillor Chambers.
Thank you through the mayor. I guess this is specifically to the motion as it's written to Councillor Magoon. I wonder if maybe, I don't know if it's a friendly amendment or amendment possibility, but I think if we're speaking specifically about the use of the school, should this be reflected on Monday to Friday basis? The weekends then, it's Saturday, Sunday, which is, people are sleeping in, potentially it's a quieter time. You don't have the kids in the schoolyard doing the same things on your Saturdays and Sundays. Is this a week? I mean, maybe it's splitting hairs, it's half an hour, but, does that give that little bit more time on a quieter weekend versus, I don't know, but that's just what I think, is that if we're doing this specifically for the schools to utilize it during that Monday to Friday, is that something that we should be reflecting here and then leaving the Saturday, Sundays separate?
Thank you, Councillor Chambers, and I'll give Councillor Magoon an opportunity to ask that question since it was directed at him, but I would like to add in, is this something that weekends, weekdays, school days, summer? What are your thoughts, Councillor Magoon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Honestly, I think from a legislative point of view, simply identifying on school days would be an easy workaround. I think you're right. It gives a little bit of additional cushion on those non-school days and on summer. I would be good sort of making that distinction. But then I would think, just thinking ahead, that council would have to identify what the non-school day hours would be if they would remain 9 a.m. To 9 p.m. So, but I'm favorable either way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Magoon, and with that, Council, we're not going to be doing a friendly amendment of this. If we want to change this amendment motion, we would amend this motion to reflect those changes. I think it would be the easiest route to go about there. Councillor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'm going to support this. I think that it's reasonable that 8:30 due to the school usage. To speak to Councillor Chambers, I had the same thought, but then I got thinking, if you start to do what is school days, what is weekend, what are summer hours, consistency to me is much more important when it comes to this. It starts to complicate things and enforcement becomes difficult. So I think consistency, that basically it's 8:30 to 9, 7 days a week. And because the fact is, again, this is a public area that can be used. So I guess I'd be cautious of how many times do we set for different areas. I think consistency is the best route on a space like this, personally. But to the current motion, I will be in favor.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Councillor Taylor.
Help me out. It's been a while since we talked about it, but the gentleman on Fuller Place, what were the hours? What were the hours before? Like what are we changing them from? Is half an hour not a big deal, and the people were starting at 7 and 6:30 in the morning, so half an hour.
CEO Panasic.
Through the mayor, members of council, I believe the hours were 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Those are just kind of baseline hours, I believe. Sorry, that might be just specific for construction.
CEO Panasic.
outside of noise related to construction. It appears that the bylaw previously was drafted to say you shall not cause, permit, or allow to be made excessive noise in a property which disturbs or tends to disturb people or persons on another property or in the surrounding area. So it was really about the reasonable person test and the level of noise that they were making at what type of hours, and that was really likely a bylaw officer judgment call at the time. But it doesn't look like it's specific outside of construction noise.
Thank you, CEO Panasic. Councilor Taylor, follow up.
But his general concern was that people were coming way earlier than 8:30, correct?
Go ahead, Councilor Taylor.
The only thing I might, maybe taking care of the school versus the public might be reflected by just putting public court hours. And that would leave, maybe not. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor. CEO Panasic, did you have something further?
Yeah, through the mayor to members of council. From what I remember of the presentation, I believe that there was more concern in the PM hours, especially in the summer where, we have light till well into 11 o'clock and people were playing all hours. I think that was a larger concern earlier in the morning, but I do believe that 9 to 9 did come from that gentleman who was having the noise issues. So that was his recommendation.
Thank you, CEO Panasic. Councilor Taylor, any follow-up?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Thank you. So council, the motion on the floor is that council amend bylaw number 1185, TAC 1 to reflect the court hours of 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Gerard Redmond Courts. Is there any further discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Councilor Hawes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the council gives third reading to the amended nuisance bylaw 1185-1.
Thank you. Councilor Hawes, would you like to speak?
Yeah, if I can just speak really quickly. I think, there's been a lot of consultation. I know that one of the major things is the pickleballers, and speaking to the pickleball members or some members and the individual mentioned in Fuller, this was a conversation between them and a kind of an agreement that, 9 to 9 would be great, but taking into account, the schools, I think we have to consider that as well. So I think, a half-hour difference isn't going to make a large difference, I believe, at this time. And we've been having this conversation for quite some time, so I think that this is a reasonable it's a reasonable compromise. And I agree with Councilor or CEO. There was no hours. That was one of the biggest things there. Because anybody can come anytime. But I think we had a 10 p.m. Stop time, but people were using it past that time. So at least this is a little bit sooner, ending in the evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hawes. Council, the motion on the floor is the council gives third reading to a nuisance bylaw 1185 TAC 1 as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Council, is there anything further for item 6.2 on the agenda this evening? Councilor Taylor.
I think this is a good example of when somebody comes to council and gives a well thought out presentation, how they can change things. This was a very good presentation, kind of like one we heard tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor. Council, anything further for item 6.2? Seeing nothing, we'll go Councilor Hawes.
I do have a quick one, I guess, because the other matter that we're still considering or needing some information on is the wall. So I'm just curious on when we might be seeing that as well come back to council.
Ms. Hope.
So we have the kickoff meeting with the consultant on Friday, and we should have a final report within a month.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hope. Thank you, Councilor Hawes. Moving on to item 6.3, aquatic wall painting and baffle replacement. Let's go back to Ms. Hope.
So during the budget 2025 meeting, we talked about repainting the pool walls and ceiling baffles, and the request was to look at a reduction of that scope, and that this report is on that, so I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hope. Council. Councilor Taylor.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't read that way. It says just amend the original CPP to keep the pricing the same, which means we still spend $100,000 on the baffle. Was that your intent? Because that's different than what you said.
Sorry, my
Ms. Hope.
apologies. So, oops. Sorry, Mr. Taylor, you're correct. So, the original was to have more painted, and so if we go to the analysis, one to the third paragraph. So the original capital project budget proposed was $116,500 for all baffle components. And so we can reduce the original CPP, and we have two options in front of you. Option one, $6,800 would be for the approximate capital cost to paint the cinder block wall, which would include contractor labor. And option two, $16,500 would be the approximate capital cost to paint the cinder block wall and the wall baffles, which would include contracted labor.
So it was a change. So, but all I'm going to vote for, if I vote for this, is to spend $16,000.
You could vote for option one or option two.
Oh, I see, okay.
Thank you, Ms. Hope. Thank you, Councilor Taylor. Councilor Haas.
And just to clarify, the original 116.5, that was also to replace the ceiling baffles as well, was it not? It wasn't just to repaint them. This is looking at keeping the existing baffles, but repainting them and the cinder block wall.
My understanding was the original CPP was to repaint the ceiling baffles, not to replace them, just to repaint them. So this one's not considering the ceiling at all. It's just considering the wall baffles and the wall, or just the wall.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
CO Panasic, did you have something to add?
Not at this moment.
Thank you, CO Panasic. Councilor Taylor.
I'm sorry. I'm confused. So if I vote for number one, then I'm painting what? What are we doing? We're painting something.
Ms. Hope.
The cinder block walls that are yellow and have the brown squigglies on them,
Yes,
those,
just the walls.
just the walls.
And if I vote for number two, what are we painting?
The cinder block walls, and then the baffles kind of higher above them,
On the walls.
on the walls, yeah.
Yet number two is a lower price.
No, number two is $16,500, option one is $6,800.
The councilors, I will point out that there is options 1 and 2 listed in the analysis of our request for decision. And then there is also options in the options and alternatives on the last page of the request for decision. And the two are swapped
I'm
between
going
those two spaces.
to page 40. I'm asking questions on page 44 that I have to vote on.
Page 44, then Councilor Taylor, you are correct. The option 1 on page 44 is the wall, the cinder block wall, and the baffles attached to the wall. And option 2 on page 44 is just the cinder blocks.
Okay.
CO Panasic.
And through the mayor to members of council, the sound baffles on the ceilings that are hanging, that was removal of the existing ones and installing new ones. So that's about $100,000. The painting of the cinder block and the baffles that are located on the walls that have been previously painted. To do both of those at $16,500, and then just to do the cinder block is the $6,500.
Thank you, CO Panasic. Councilor Haas.
Yeah, thank you for that, CEO, because that's where I went back to the original. Yeah, it was that $100,000 that was the removal and installation of that. So we're just removing that, going with which one we decide tonight. Okay. So if I may, then I will make the motion that council approve amending the scope of the aquatic wall baffling and painting CPP to reflect wall and wall baffle painting in the amount of $16,500 in 2025. If I can quickly speak to it,
Go right ahead.
you know, at the time, you know, we were in agreement somewhat, but it was the removing the ceiling ones and reinstallation seemed deemed necessary at this time, but to spruce up, you know, but with a little bit of paint, those areas, I think is reasonable for that area. And actually going through, having the opportunity to walk through the rec center at our strat plan really opened my eyes, because from a distance, you don't really see that very much, but when you actually look at it, they need to be improved. I think it's time, and things seem very dated, so I think it's reasonable at this time, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, the motion on the floor is the council approve amending the scope of the aquatic wall baffle and painting CPP to reflect wall and wall baffle painting in the amount of $16,500 in 2025. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, when I did my original survey, and it was a survey of quite a few pool users, they had an objection to 116, but for $16,000 to spruce up the pool and paint the walls, I don't think they would have that objection. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Council, the motion on the floor is the council approve amending the scope of the aquatic wall baffle and painting CPP to reflect wall and wall baffle painting in the amount of $16,500 in 2025. Is there any further discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Council, is there anything further for item 6.3 on the agenda this evening? Councillor Haas.
I do have a quick question, because I mean, obviously there was a reason that the ceiling baffles were brought up, but is this the type of thing that is also going to be included in our asset management program to make these decisions of what lifetime these, you know, things have? Or does the asset management program go down to those types of assets too in decision making?
It's the open asset.
Through the mayor and members of council, that's a tough question to answer because it could, but getting down to a granular level of detail typically costs a lot of money and there's a lot of data to manage. So usually things like baffles or small ticket items probably won't be included into an overall asset management plan. You know, you can make reasonable assumptions on miscellaneous items and little things, but something like a ceiling baffle, the cost is really to set up the scaffolding to remove them and put new ones on, so we probably wouldn't include it, but.
No, and that's fair enough, you know, because I think those would be those, if there's other assets that need to be while we're up there, consider, you know, then looking at replacing it, but I appreciate that, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nassick. Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, is there anything further for item 6.3? Seeing nothing, we'll move to item 6.4, Alberta Mid-Sized Town Mayor's Caucus. CEO Panasic.
Thank you, Mayor. So we are bringing this forward. We had voted at the Committee of the Whole that we bring a report on the Mid-Sized Towns Mayor's Caucus to a future meeting of council. This caucus is really an advocacy group made up of towns of similar makeup to our own, with my understanding of the main focus being related to the infrastructure deficit and advocating to the provincial and or federal governments on that particular issue. In order to join, it's about $250 that can be easily absorbed within the existing budget, and the Mayor Nissen had indicated that the other source of funds, if there are meetings to attend in person, would come out of his professional development account. So very negligible financial impact. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, CEO Panasic. Councillor McGoon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that council approve the Town of Hinton's 2025 membership in the Alberta Mid-Sized Towns Mayor's Caucus, and if I could just briefly speak to it. Just thanks to the mayor for bringing this forward for council. Infrastructure deficit has been something that we've been talking about for now over decades, and is a very, very pressing concern for us. So it's nice to know that there's an advocacy group at the provincial level of towns that share our sort of demographic size and concerns, because it's a major concern for us as a municipality, and somebody's got to pay the cost. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Magoo. Councilor Taylor?
My question would be to the mayor. How will you involve council in this advocacy process in achieving consensus on anything you would vote for before you vote? And in getting a system to maximize information back to the town and council?
Sorry, I didn't quite pick up the second part of the
Oh,
question.
okay. And in getting a system to maximize the information back to council and the town?
Okay, thank you, Councilor Taylor. Well, as I have not yet been to one of these meetings, I am uncertain about how much information there will be to bring back to the town at each successive meeting. The committee, or the caucus, meets every second month. They have strict confidentiality clauses in their terms of reference, but that is strictly for the public communication of information. It would be my assumption, based on looking at the terms of reference, that at each of these meetings I would have both public information to share from the caucus meeting and private information to share that would likely have to go into a closed session report for council. I anticipate, though, that ultimately the push or the advantage of this mid-sized town mayor's caucus is in the numbers of municipalities like ourselves that are joining and have the full support of their councils to be there with the province talking about this one issue, is the infrastructure deficit. Should decisions need to come up, they will absolutely have to be discussed with council before we can make those decisions. But at this time, I don't know if there are decisions that this mayor's caucus is going to require from us, or if it is us standing shoulder to shoulder with the 84 other communities our size in this province, asking the province for solutions on that infrastructure deficit. Thank you, Councilor Taylor. Councilor Race?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in knowing that there are mid-sized city mayor caucuses already formed, I think this is long overdue, so I'm happy to support this.
Thank you, Councilor Race. And it is my understanding that this is designed off of the mid-sized cities caucus. Councilor Taylor?
Oh, sorry, I had a mistake there.
Okay, Council, the motion on the floor is that Council approve the Town of Hinton's 2025 membership in the Alberta Mid-Sized Towns Mayor's Caucus. Any further discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Council, is there anything further for item 6.4 on the agenda this evening? Seeing nothing, we'll move to section 7, correspondence. Councilor Haas.
I'd like to move that we accept the correspondence as presented.
Thank you.
And if I can just quickly speak to it.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, I just really appreciate the letters, we've spoken about this before, but the letters that signed as our mayor being sent, I really appreciate that these are added in every package. That wasn't a common practice we did in the past, but I would really like to see those letters and that they've been sent, so that's great, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Haas, and thank you, administration, for making sure those get in there. Council, the motion on the floor is the council accept the correspondence for information. Is there any discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. That will take us to section 8 of the agenda today, notices of motion. C.O. Panasic.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have one notice of motion from Councillor Haas. Motion that administration bring a report to a future committee of the whole meeting to discuss the unfreezing of one of the two frozen RCMP positions.
Thank you, C.O. Panasic. Is that the only notice of motion today?
It is.
Thank you, C.O. Panasic. That will take us to section 9, reporting and council reports. We'll start with Councilor Stack.
Thank you, Mayor Missy. I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councilor Stashik. Councilor Magoon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just 2 items. I will be attending an RCMP committee meeting next week on Wednesday and Tuesday. I will not be at council. It's that time of year. Report cards, parent-teacher interviews, all that kind of stuff. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Magoon. Good luck with your report cards. Councilor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one thing to report, I had an ASH meeting last night, again, productive, but I do want to mention something, one of our user groups, to really, I guess, emphasize the importance. Hit Movies is doing a great deal of work trying to boost their attendance, and they're falling short a lot, and unfortunately money is being lost. So I just want to reach out to our community members to really consider, when you're looking for something to do, is to look at Hinton Movies and spend some time there. You know, and I realize the schedule is a bit not consistent because of all the other user groups as well, but I just really want to, you know, encourage our citizens to please use that entertainment of our community. If we don't use these, they're going to struggle and continue to struggle to the point where we may not have them anymore, just to say. Not that but they're working hard to try and build a user-friendly experience, and they're working hard on a strat plan for the future, but they still need the people in the seats, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be attending the Historical Society meeting tomorrow, but that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Councillor Reyes.
Thank you, sir. On Thursday, I'll be attending an arch meeting and also youth. And that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Reyes. Councillor Taylor.
I went to the Waste Authority meeting, they approved the budget, and there were some cost overruns, but they weren't significant for some of the projects they're working on, like the small completion and some road work. And I also asked the question I was asked to ask, and that was, why is a lot of wood going into the general garbage pile and not into just the wood burn pile? And that's because a lot of it is coming with mixed waste from Jasper, so it's difficult to separate.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. I've been asked that exact same question recently, so I'm glad you managed to get us an answer on that. For my self-reporting, last week my report was really focused on the MLC, but last weekend I was able to attend the Hinton Friendship Center's Youth Empowerment Conference, which this council did sponsor. There were almost 400 participants, the vast majority from other communities across Alberta, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, and I believe some of the territories. They took over the Harry College High School, and what a great venue for them. They had classrooms, kitchens, room to eat, events every night in the gymnasium, great concert. It was a lot of fun, and it's, as I was saying to the organizers, it's one of the bigger events, I think, that happens in Hinton with 400 participants. I really hope to see it again next year. So that will take us to Chief Administrative Officer reporting. Scott Nassick.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two things that might be of public interest, but the point-of-sale systems to take payments at our rec center, government center, and our facilities is back up and running. Same with our booking software for recreation. Councilors should be receiving emails now, so for members of the public, if you sent an email to your councilor, that was our fault, they may not have gotten it, but that should be sorted out too as well.
Well, that is great news, C.O. Panasic. Council, anything further for section 9 of the agenda this evening? Then we'll look for a motion to move into close, and we'll take a 7-minute recess while we get there. Councillor Chambers.
I'll move that we move into closed session, 5:20 p.m.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Council, motion on the floor is the council moving into closed session at 5:20 p.m. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.